All right, everybody. Good night. Good night. This is our first episode of the Bearded Conversations podcast, and it's good to have everybody on. So, for those guys who would have spoken to me directly and not know who would be the other co-hosts, I'm gonna introduce some of the co-hosts here now. So we got my boy Chad from the Up Inside Your podcast. Chad, larger off yourself so the people can hear you.
Yeah, big up on the sales, man. What's going on, T? Blessed good night to everybody who paying attention to the podcast right now. I just want to say that I believe that Bearded Conversations is a timely podcast tackling men's issues because it seems as if men on the bottom of the food chain. So I don't want to get too deep into it until we get into the conversation, but thanks for having me and welcome, people.
Yeah, definitely. Then we got my boy Arthur, aka Darian, aka King, aka the most controversial from the Anything Goes podcast. So it's nice to have you on, man. Large off yourself so the people can hear you.
Well, T, it's a pleasure that you brought me onto the show. Shout out to the crew, Chad and Zian.
Big up.
Thank you. I mean, I think this is, as Chad would really pointed out, I think this is something that needs to be done. I think, probably for over 20 years now, a lot of men's voices and opinions have been placed in the background. And when men do come and speak forward, it seems as if we are hating on women, and that's the first thing from the truth. I just think, just like women, we have our issues, and they should be brought to the forefront. So we need to have open and honest conversations, and I think that's the only way society will improve. So I think Teague is doing a wonderful job with this podcast and a brave job as well, because a lot of men are afraid to do what Teague is even trying to do. They're even afraid to think about what Teague is doing. So shout out to Teague for even bringing this to the light, and hopefully everyone tunes in, listen, and get educated on what we have to say.
Well, definitely. But everybody that is on this podcast is a brave person, because you know how it goes for men. So yeah, with that being said, I just want large off Zane as well, who's on the podcast. Zane, he doesn't really have he's the resident horner, man. Let me just put it that way for the podcast.
You think that's a good way to start the podcast, though?
One introduction. I hear I was saying that I don't have the accolades or the accomplishment the other guys seem to have in this group. So right now I'm feeling very privileged to be amongst such distinguished gentlemen. But
using some big words there, man.
Exactly. Look how it is. He's bigger than
I rated him.
Yo, take a call for Zane Harder, man, to the intellectual of the show.
I rated him.
Yeah. With that being said, with that being said, Zane is a barber, so you know that he can be ready to drop some of the barber stories on us. And his page is Zane is Irie Cut. So, guys, it's a Bearded Conversations podcast. He's the one who came up with the name. And if you need to get your beard lined up, you should definitely go and check Zane. So, with that being said, let me just segue into the topic tonight. And I think that this is a really, really good topic. And this is and we're gonna chop it up a lot. But we want to know at the end of this podcast whether men have freedom of expression. Right? And that's something that really hit me. Do we have freedom of expression as men? I don't know who want to take this one first. But do we have freedom of expression?
I could go ahead first there if the fellas ain't got no problems with her. I would say this. First things first, Zane, you don't got to feel no way about no accolades and all that. I think you more than qualified for this conversation. You know why? Because you're a man. As a man, you would know what it's like to deal with the I would say like the segregation between the genders. When um you can say something, but it's not as seriously received as your counterpart or as our counterparts. But that's the reason why they're saying that you are more than qualified for this conversation, because you would have your own personal experiences to determine what it is exactly that we go through on a day-to-day basis. But
Yeah.
getting in, yeah, getting into, excuse me, getting into the actual topic now of freedom of expression, I think that we can all safely say that is a resounding no. We do not have freedom of expression as men. And I think that we need to constantly indicate that we are speaking from the male perspective, because I do know that everything is going to be compared, is going to be measured, all of these other things. But this conversation is strictly about men. We need to make that distinction first and foremost. So in terms of freedom of expression as a man, I would say no, because I have been in the school system just like everybody else. I have been in the household just like everybody else. I have been in the workforce just as everybody else. And I can safely state that under numerous circumstances, I was always a person that was, what you said, for the people, because I was always an individual that when I see wrong things happening, I can't keep quiet, because my grandfather used to always tell me that whenever you see wrong things happening and you stay quiet, you're part of the issue. So that stuck with me for all of them years. And it has been a part of my genetic makeup ever since he uttered those words to me. Rest in peace to Pastor Bynum. So with that being said, it has never been easy for somebody like me to speak up about anything, whether it's relationship issues, social issues, workplace issues, because men are constantly pushed to the back burner, because we just always hear terms like man up. We always hear terms like what a real man does do. We just hear things like this is what a man is supposed to do from what he isn't supposed to do. And most of the time, the people who are iterating that conversation are not men. They're not males. So, as I said, I could keep going back and forth on the different uh, places, whether social, workplace, home, wherever you want to put me. Men don't always have the opportunity or the support to have freedom of expression. So, when I could give me some views on how wanna thinking about anything that I've said there.
Yeah, definitely, and it was pretty deep as well. But I want to hear what Zen gonna say, man. Our resident intellectual.
Yes, club. Um, what I was thinking while listening to him was being that keeping in mind that he's a man. I kept thinking about the what I was saying the naysayers. What would they try to imagine to be a devil's advocate of sorts? So I was thinking, what would a person say in response to what he said? And to add to it, you forget misogynist on that list of things, and one of the things that you would be hit with is patriarchy being one of the number one causes of our own demise. Furthermore, our relationship with women. So those are two things that I find we are branded with pretty damn often. But aside from that, yes, I definitely do agree that censorship is a big thing now, and it's dangerous. And I know we're gonna expound further and get deeper as we go, so I don't want get too deep into it at this point. But that's how I feel about the subject, at least where we
Well,
are
you
at.
see, Zen, you said something that actually triggered something else within me. You see the term misogyny? do you know what is actually the opposite of misogyny? You've ever heard the term before?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you probably would have called you're an intellectual. I sorry that I even
yeah.
asked you that question. I didn't mean to disrespect you like that though. But the reality is a lot of the average men out there have been introduced to the words such as toxic, such as misogyny, such as patriarchy, and so on, right? But they have never been shown what is the opposite of that unless the mistinkers, like the guys here tonight, that will go out of their way to try to understand what is the opposite to the nature of the words that we constantly hearing across different medias.
True, true,
So
true.
the opposite to misogyny is misandry.
Yeah.
And I can state this as well as a fact. This is not an opinion, because there's another thing too that I find most men try to come from. We come from a place of logic, where I am going to say to you that I have seen countless acts of misandry online in the open without any fear of being called out for that, because the reality is the playground of social media is actually for the opposite sex.
Boy, that,
Either way you want to spin it, either way you want to spin it, it
man,
is
this subject got such
because
deep connections, boy. I mean,
right.
for again, keeping the subject on meals, but this
Uh-huh.
this actual issue goes so far beyond gender. It
It,
goes
it
so
does.
far beyond
It really does,
that.
and
It
it,
does.
it really does. But before we get deeper into this issue, I want to hear what Darian has to say, man. He
Okay,
he
yeah.
he was
Forget
he
one
was
about
quiet
that.
for he was quiet for a bit, so that means that he had some time to think through everything that was being said. I didn't want to hear what you have to say on it, man.
I think, I've spoken to you on this in the past, and I've always said, no, I don't think men have the freedom to express themselves, whether in the media or even in society. It's even got so bad if a man says, I prefer a girl that's slim, he's criticized. He said he's fat shaming. It was so bad. I was watching the video now where someone, who they switched up. I think everyone can know what I'm trying to say. And the person who switched it said if a man doesn't find them attractive, they're bigoted. So I was like, how on earth is someone a bigoted if I respectfully say you're not my type? So I mean, I've saying this for a long time that I think men cannot express themselves, and especially on social media. As Chad has rightly pointed out, I've seen countless posts of men being bashed and dragged through the mud by certain men. But when one man makes a criticism of a female, he's torn to shreds, or so then his comment is removed or the page is deleted. But yet still every day I see these same men having, can I say, toxic femininity? Because I don't know how we get toxic masculinity anyhow.
Yeah.
Every day repeated
Right.
over and over and over, and nothing is being done about it. So clearly there's some form of, if you want to say, censorship on the average man in the 21st century.
And I can also agree with you there, because even to lend to your point where you spoke about being called a bigot, as far as I can remember, because I a little older than everybody else on the panel, and as far as I can recall, when it comes to there's a term. I don't know if one can remember this term. I feel like if I invent it because it almost disappeared, no. And that's called preference. I know once upon a time I could choose to like what I like, but all of a sudden, no, having a preference makes me a bigot. So if, for example, I might like a woman over 5'5", all of a sudden that is, I don't even know what kind of thing you will call that. You will call that vertical shaming.
Or something else.
You call it height shaming.
Massive racism.
Well, I mean, we can go and make up a word, because the truth is, they got so many words. They got so many words going on right now. They got so many words going on right now that I can't keep up. That's the truth.
You can't praise it. You can't
That's
praise
the
it.
truth.
Well,
But this is where you see it is going to be considered female bashing or women bashing, because of the fact that we have to draw comparisons to what is accepted versus what is not. You understand? That's the only way we can make an argument. So this is my thing. if a man has a preference to a partner, a potential partner, I see absolutely nothing wrong with that, unless there is something underlying where that some other person who does not fit the preference is made to feel as if they are lesser than. That's where I draw
Correct.
the line.
But
However,
you know,
go ahead, sir.
what I would say about that is that a lot of us, and this is us being humans,
Mm-hmm.
the mere existence of people that are, well, let me use success as an example. The mere existence of people who are successful feels like a judgment upon those who are not. And I think that
Okay.
that is one of the big issues that happens too. That people just begin to feel inadequate in the presence of some person who is competent, and that is that's a funny human trait that if you're not aware of it, it can really skew your vision when it comes to looking at people. As you know, people tell you about people that buy money. So that's what
Right.
bad money really
Or
is.
what somebody does view as success, because I could have been a top-notch lawyer in a really important firm, but my dream was to be a clown at children parties. So I left the bar, and I decided to go and start my own business by traveling around to different places, and I featuring at parties. But people tell me that I stupid because I making myself happy and my level of success being in the job that I want to be in, or the career path, whatever you want to determine it as. And then all of a sudden I am told that I'm an idiot because yet again, the society's view on what is success versus what isn't, lending to your point, is what I'm talking about. But I want to segue quickly back to what you were saying before with preferences. We are always showered as men, we are always showered with the fact that if you are not over 6 feet, athletically built, making X amount of dollars when the month, year come, you are not considered eligible, and that's supposed to be okay. If I don't know if you wanna agree with me or if I out on a limb by myself, but this is the
Okay.
reality of what
As
this
a
is the
man that's
reality of what it
24/7,
is.
as a man at
Yes.
24, as a man at 24/7 and three and a third,
uh,
And a third, the amount
take
have
the
met
third,
shirt,
and a
take
and
the
a
third,
third,
third.
big man. Take
sir,
it, take it.
says 40.7.323 if you
Don't
want
let a boy,
specific.
don't let a boy disrespect you, big man. Five point
Yeah,
seven point three three
yeah, that's
two.
right.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
If you can roll it
I
up
can
to eight, roll
definitely
it up to eight. That's what he was saying.
yeah. But I understand exactly what you mean. When you say that there's and the truth is things like that. There are things like that I'm not sure that one can be in control of. I think that there is such a thing as rules to the game. When I say that, I mean to say that as men, you will simply never be as attractive as a man at 6 foot. Period.
You think so?
Unfortunately, yeah, no doubt.
Big man, the got some dog ugly 6 foot man. You
No
don't say
doubt. And
Yeah.
dog.
they will still get through before 4 foot man, 4 foot 3, 4 man. But that's
Okay. I guess I will have to take your word for it because I am not 5'7". You
yeah.
see, no, that's why I said that everybody is qualified for this conversation because we all coming from separate perspectives. No, I am 6'3". So
Damn
I can
you.
understand.
You got all privilege. You can't speak to me. No. Same for you. Same for you. No,
Yeah. The man gonna put me
same for
for
this
mute now.
man.
The man gonna put me
Yeah,
for mute
we
now.
gotta mute the mic. But before
This man to be saying sir no.
before we jump even deeper, there are a couple of things because it was just sitting and listening, but there are a couple of things that you guys hit on, and I want to provide a little bit of context to it. There was a guy, he's a men's rights activist. I'm gonna give the name. I'm gonna give the name when I remember it, but the name ain't coming to me now. But he said something that really hit me, and he said that when we have women and we consider women as sexual objects, we objectify women in that sexual way. But when it comes to men, men are objectified as success objects. If you get what I mean, ain't necessarily about looks, per se, because a woman will be able to compromise with a shorter man. If you shorter, if you got some money,
what about my gray sweatpants? What about my gray sweatpants?
But I saying that women don't look at men and like men for their looks and that sort of thing. But what the dating market is dominated by is mostly a man with money. That's just how it is. And one of the things that you mentioned when you was talking of Chad, when you was talking about your happiness, one of the things that you mentioned is that you choose, if you choose to be a clown, that people can be on you case for it, even though that's what you're doing that make you happy. But that's a success object sort of problem, because women don't see men who are doing what makes them happy but ain't making a lot of money as valuable. They see men as the men who are valuable are men who have money. In the same way that the woman that is the most valuable is the woman that look the best, if you get what I mean. So nobody ain't gonna want to deal with no woman that them think big or is unattractive or anything like that. They're gonna want to deal with a woman that nice and slim, that look good, or maybe slim thick or whatever. But you want to deal with the most attractive woman in the room, and the man want to deal with the most the women want to deal with the most successful man in the room. But with that being said, another thing that Zian hit on was the whole concept of patriarchy. And patriarchy is something that affects both men and women. I don't think that a man sit down and concoct patriarchy and say, yo, let me just go here and mess with these women's head, and all of we just complicit in it. And every day we just be meeting at these patriarchy meetings to go and tear down women. I don't think it does work like that. But what I realize is that feminists fight back against these things, against these negative things within the dating market. Men just seeing women as sexual objects, men just objectifying women in that sexual way and only considering their sexuality. But we don't have anything to fight back against women who just seeing a man for success. You know, some of the best people to be with in a man that's successful is a man that happy and fulfilled in his place. They got men that just making a couple dollars a month, but them happy. And then will be a better person and a better fit for you than somebody that making millions in some cases. But people don't see that. Then we're going to be with the man that making millions and be miserable. So with that being said, I think that's the core to this podcast as well, and the core to the men's rights movement, which is we need somebody to stand up for us when we are in a situation like that. We need somebody to stand up for us when somebody just saying that, big man, you use a clown at children's shows, you ain't nothing. You ain't this, you ain't that, you's a waste man. We need somebody to stand up for that. So with that being said, we can jump back in and we can jump deeper into the conversation. But I just want to hear your guys' thoughts on what you just said, and if there's anything that stood out to you guys before we go even deeper. So I don't know who want to take this one first. If it's Zen, if it's Darian, if it's
the intellectual gotta go first, man.
Oh geez, wet man. But you know what? I appreciate the platform, guys. No, I may have I wouldn't use the word controversial, but I would say that I have my opinion on where men sit in terms of their role in life. So when we talk about success of men, as you were just describing a scenario where a woman may choose one man over the next, I do think that a woman's natural instinct is to gravitate towards the man who secured a future for her children. A lot of people obviously not necessarily thinking that deep. I mean, but these are unconscious decisions that were made long before you were able to think about it.
Yeah.
At least that's my opinion. That this is where biology plays a heavy role.
Well, yeah. All you gotta do is take away everything that we got in advancements and carry back to nature, dog. That's what nature is all about. Security, safety, and the progression of the species. So you are correct. Continue, my brother.
Yeah, you are right. So you are right, especially the height thing as well. So agree, they're controversial.
Yeah, so what I would say the parts that maybe me so is that I in this regard I want to speak because they could complain about women doing it, doing objectifying men in terms of their pocket size or what they could contribute to life, and there is an extent of that which is definitely not only wrong but is counterproductive. But there's also
Did you care some episode?
a part of me that also thinks that it is this is the part for men as far as they're concerned. There is a sacredness to finding your place. What do we call it? If you watch Lion King, your place in the circle of life, so to speak. And I think that it is our responsibility as men, even if we remove the other things from the equation, I feel it is obviously life is not straightforward. It is not simple. Life is coming to throw you things that you're really ain't ready for, prepare for. But I think as men, we need encouragement, and I think that men need to find our place wherever that place is in society, whether it's how we contribute to society, whether it's so as you talk about happiness, a man may not have as much money as another fella, but he's happy, he's fulfilled in his house and his household and his family. Because that's a man who's found his place in his family and his community and can serve the people he needs to serve and can enjoy his life, so to speak. I mean, obviously we know that life ain't all cakes and fun and joy, but he finds his place, and I think that is where a lot of men is running into trouble too. Just as men, excluding the women, saying what I got to say, but I find that a man is not complete, and he's miserable, damn well miserable when we don't have certain things in our lives, and a lot of it is possessions in truth. But even in that, I feel like a man needs to be able to stand on his own 2 feet. Otherwise, he just rot, and become cynical and miserable, and that's end up providing some of these same women fuel to use against us at any day because we ain't got no guidance and we ain't got people to come and to show us, yeah, this is the way to go, this is the direction we need to go. And like, as you said, maybe it turns back around to the problem being that we're not expected to do these things or to be emotional, to have conversations that are deep and thought provoking with each other. We just one trap minded, one dimensional sex maniacs. But as we know that there are other aspects to marriage. So I think that's one of the issues that men face, if not the biggest issue that men face. Not having people to encourage us specifically and to talk to us, as was said, man, explain to us.
Right. I hear that word, boy.
Yeah.
With everything in me, I hear that word.
With a positive spin.
Yeah. I don't know. But I just was putting it out there. I was just putting the energy out there that I absolutely hate it. But you made a lot of good points. Steve made a lot of good points. And I'd like to support everything that's being said rather than just go off on my own. Because the reality is you are correct. In modern society, we don't have many men out here really, what I would say, winning. Meaning like that you can say, okay, this person is my role model in society. He's a great representation of what a man is supposed to be. This is a person that I would aspire to become like, whether or not it is exactly like that, or I just grab a couple of leaves out of his book and go forward. But that's where we as men have to start, where older generations have to make a way for the upcoming generation. And we continue on down that line. I have had conversations with numerous women, and most of the time, the women who are truly looking for leaders in terms of a partner, they always say, if I can see that this man is going somewhere, I can submit to him.
Yep.
Right. But we have to remember that empty vessels is making the most noise. And the people and the women out there that are actually bashing and being loud and boisterous and all these things aren't really the real representations of the women who truly looking for partners,
Maybe
let
not
me
yet.
be real. Let me
Maybe
be
not yet.
honest.
But
I
I
going
think a
based
lot
off
of
of my
young.
experience.
I think a lot.
Well, but don't forget that the generation before us was young too. But you know what's the real issue? The advancements or the differences within each society
Yeah,
or each
the
generation.
technology change for sure.
Right, right. And I am one of them people that gonna believe that everything that old is supposed to come forward into the new. I don't think like that because I know that life is ever changing, is something that's constant. You cannot you cannot constantly retract. Yes, we know some things don't change, they only adapt, but we do know that some things will disappear from this world and then eventually come back again in another wrapping, maybe in another generation. But my thing is with the women that I interact with, I am finding that these women are looking for actual men to lead. They're not looking for men that, just telling them what to do and so on and so forth. It's like a woman looks upon that man, which is what we could all deem it as patriarchy. Because I don't know why the term patriarchy is such a word that is shrouded with so much stigma. Because let me be honest, the man is the head. That's the beginning and the end. Because there are things that a man is supposed to do, and that's another thing that
We can edit
modern
that part.
society, modern society
this is a
likes to. Uh-huh.
now
Go ahead.
this is important. This is freedom of expression. So if
Right.
Chad
For
say I
modern.
want to talk about the mind is the head,
Uh-huh.
he can say the mind is the head. And to you guys who
Right.
are listening to this podcast at home right now, like when it eventually comes out, this is what this podcast is about. So don't hold the punches. Don't think that I can't say this, I can't say that. This is what it is. These are conversations that men need to
That's what
have.
it is.
You know what I
It's
mean?
freedom of
It's
expression.
freedom of expression.
And that's what I using here right now. I'm not saying anybody, whether on this panel or who are listening, have to agree with me because I don't know all, I have not experienced all, and I am always willing to learn. But if you want to teach me, you gotta come with the tools to disprove what it is that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I can't remember where he was, but I can just continue on. The fact of the matter is that women look to men to be strong, not only physically but mentally.
No, no.
So if I am supposed to lead you, I'm supposed to set the example. We can even go a little step further. Who women does call upon to discipline children when children truly out the hand? There's no say wait you daddy come home,
More often than not.
whoever is a male figure in that household.
More often than not,
So
they
so
do.
the
So
thing
yeah.
is, right? So this is my thing. Everybody had right, I know remember.
They will argue
Traditional is
that.
another word. Traditional is another word that people like to make light of in this society that everything traditional is bad. I will say that there are some practices that traditionally we could do away with.
You could do whatever.
But there are some things that are ingrained within society that will never change. And you see the fact that a man is expected to be the body that gonna wake up and go outside and investigate the noise that happen outside the house to protect the household. You think that a woman can get up and gonna do it unless she has no one else to turn to? Let me be real. These men in here be being real. Let me look at it from the perspective too that and this is and you see I don't want it to become a situation of well they got some women that do this yes, there are always women that will be the exception to the rule. They got women out there that are truck drivers, kudos to them. They got women out there that are police officers, kudos to them. They got women out there that taking on construction type jobs, mechanic type jobs, but those are not the majority within the society, and that's what we have to recognize. So we as men, the real men, are not stating that women cannot do tasks or duties that men perform, because I know plenty men that are not working that have taken up the household, dealing with children, dealing with cooking while their women are out working. So it goes both ways. But the reality is that man is expected to lead.
Yeah.
If we put aside and I love to go back to the basics because I am not a man that believes in cutting branches. If we dealing with a situation, we gotta go to the root cause of the issue. Let me take away everything that we have advanced in society, like I just mentioned previously. When we out there, who it is that's going hunt? The man, right?
Yep.
Who it is that providing the shelter and building the homes? The man, right?
Yep.
When a woman is pregnant and she needs to eat and sustain that baby, and an animal attacks the village, who is going to face that animal? The man or the man. So the reality is men are protectors. That is our nature. That is what we are here to do.
Yeah.
I am not saying that there will not be women that can stand next to men and help protect the village. But the reality is that the minority of women who do that cannot be put next to the men who actually will be the ones doing it. Whether you're strong or whether you weak, you expect it to stand up. You expect it to stand up. And I want to use something that my guy Kevin Samuels is using. A lot of women gonna disagree with me here, because the fact of the matter is they love to speak on his delivery. Delivery is what they use as a form of censorship, as a bit of ammunition,
censorship.
As a bit of ammunition to basically discredit what he's saying when he's speaking facts. The fact of the matter is that majority of men in society are who are the fabric of this society that we live in and enjoy to this day. In terms of when we gotta look for new spaces for wells to be dug so that we could distribute water to homes, who's the people that are going down into the sewers and everything to find that stuff? The men.
Exactly.
When it is that if we gotta build power grids and stuff like that, who it is that taking those chances of electrocution? Is men. When you find that your power is down in your district and you see a sweet big red truck come through to save you, who are the people in the truck? Men. Because at the end of the day, we are the fabric makers of this society. And he has said it best. If men were to disappear off of the planet right now, snap, all of we disappear. All men, all shapes, all sizes, all disciplines. You know what's gonna happen? Women are going to start dying out. Why? Because we are the ones who just do the majority of everything, if not everything, within the fabric of society so that we can live, so that systems can be supported, because all know the men disappear. So the people who just control the power, the lighting power off, we ain't got no power at the QEH. People dying off of dialysis, the machines breaking down. People literally dying as we speak.
It would seem that some good stuff about it.
So how can you navigate to stop the deaths that are taking place and the lack of clean water, electricity, all of that? So maybe even talk about the internet, because the internet is like a tool right now that we do not need to survive. We need water and we need light to survive. Yep. Period. The internet is something we did before for many years, but the number of years that it has been in the space of our lives, it has taken over to the point that we can't remember life before it. But what I'm saying to you, let me reverse it now. Women disappear from the planet right now. Snap. What's gonna happen? Nothing. We are going to survive because we are the people who actually doing everything. The light is gonna keep going on. The power is gonna keep turning on. So those people on dialysis, those people on life support, the people that on the operation table right now, they are good because nothing has changed. If you understand what I'm saying. So with that, let me finish this quick. I can done now. So the only thing that's gonna happen is that our reproduction rate is gonna go to zero because we no longer have women to procreate with. Outside of that, we can live another 50 years. You understand? Without any problems. But the reverse is not possible. Go ahead, my brother. Sorry about that.
Yo, Chad, I was going to say, right, to your point, you said if women disappear, what men would do? I think men would go and find how to get artificial wombs and bring back women to society or content on for the next generation.
Brother, that's something that I even can't say, but because of technology. When it comes to math, science, and technology, we are the leaders in it. So the reality is there's a possibility, there is that probability and possibility that we could find ways to create quote unquote life without the natural regular way. But I didn't want to go that deep into it. I just wanted to use the comparison of men versus women disappearing off of the planet right this minute.
Move on. I got to disagree with that, and I think personally,
Good,
I,
no problem.
I understand. I understand what you're saying, and I can agree with some of what you're saying in terms of the things that males do or have done. And like I said, patriarchy would seem to have, given society quite a few benefits, and women don't really complain or patriarchy when they're using a cell phone or on the computer or catching the bus.
Right.
But as it refers to women disappearing, I mean, there's going to be a lot of follow from that.
Of course. Of course.
So, I mean, and if you're talking healthcare, they're gonna definitely got some follow for that because healthcare is
Agreed. Agreed.
Schools, women. So there are definitely things that would fall apart. I mean, we can't touch the actual value of women because that's as much they put people. That's a little more.
Yeah, that's going away from freedom of expression.
Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah.
So to tie it back in, just finish up, Zane, and then again tie it back in because it was listen. You said go ahead.
Yeah, no, you can go ahead.
Yeah. I, of course, I just want everybody to finish the point because sometimes it's really hard to get back to that trail of thought. But one of the words that stuck out for me was guidance. And I think that's what could tie everything back to freedom of expression. When you really think about it, and when somebody can't speak, it's feeling if you're neutered. I don't know if you guys got that feeling. I don't know if you guys ever get punished at primary school when the teacher you was talking in the back of the class, and the teacher said, "Look, you gotta sit down there and you gotta be quiet." And everybody else talking and busy and having the fun. You there in the back and you gotta keep your mouth shut. I don't know if you guys ever had that feeling. But I had that feeling at school because I used to talk a lot when it was ready, especially with my friends. So you feel as if you're neutered. But the thing about it is that I think men in certain cases are being neutered. And because we are being neutered and because every time we express ourselves, and this is something that we ain't hit on, but I remember when Trump was talking about, you remember the controversial words, the whole grabber in the pussy incident, right? One of the things that came up was locker room talk. I don't know if you guys remember the whole concept of locker room talk.
Yeah, that was a big thing.
That was a huge thing. Everybody talking about locker room talk. But what really and truly want to know a flight under the radar, women got their own locker room talk, Because what's happened is that when we get in our own spaces, a lot of things has happened. We just talk foolishness, but we just be guiding each other and we just be saying things to each other and holding each other accountable in our own spaces. A lot of the things that's what's happened. But what happened though with this concept of locker room talk is that men, every time a man have a conversation, somebody in the group like a snake ready to go and put it out or put them on blast. This was this body say or that is what that body say. But the reality is that in order for us to guide each other, in order for us to understand our role in life, and Zay, you hit on that one where you talk about the circle of life. We need to be able to have a conversation with each other. But even having a conversation that's considered locker room talk, that's considered as something that needs to be shut down. And that's something that's very realized. So all of the things that men do, they got men out here in this world that they don't know their worth. They don't know how good they are as a human being because all they had was women telling them, especially single mothers. And I know there's a controversial point, but I got a lot of single mothers that talk to herself, you father in this, men in this, men in that, and they grow up without view of men. So they don't get to be around men for men to have a conversation. They don't get to hear conversations like this. And chances are this podcast, this episode, people may find issue with it. That's just how it is. And that's something that I don't want to hit on the end. How do we express ourselves? Because we know that we got right ways and we got wrong ways. But that's the one point that I wanted to hit on was guidance. We need to be able to speak with each other freely so that we can have guidance. Some wrong things can be said. Some things that people can disagree with can be said. Like Zay, you disagree with some of the things that Chad has said. But that's what's happened. But we need to be able to chop it out with each other.
But you see the beauty behind the fact that Zane said that he didn't fully agree with everything I said, and there was no animosity, no arguments, none whatsoever, because we are here to learn and pull from each other.
But another point I want to add to that as well.
Go ahead.
Another point I want to add to that as well. I don't know if you guys watched Jordan Peterson, but he had a controversial interview with Kathy Newman.
Which one?
The one, cause you know he got enough of them, but the one with Kathy Newman. And one of the things that he said is this here. In order to have freedom of speech, you have to risk offending somebody.
That's a fact.
That's what he said. You can risk offending somebody. And people have the freedom to express themselves. And to me, like, I know some women can be critical of this, but some women can go get offended. That's just how it can work. And women can go express themselves, and some men can get offended. That's just how it can work. But in order to have a decent conversation, we need to have the sort of talks that the risk offending somebody. So I say all of that, and I can just let Darian get his little piece because he was quiet for most of the time. But I just want to hear what you gotta say about all of this. You was making notes. Anything stood out to you? Because I just want everybody to be a part of the conversation.
I was in the boss's thought, right? You know what I mean? As a youngster, got learn from the generals, right? So I was then the chiefs and the generals, and I do the thing. But you know, I think all y'all made good points. And as the last thing he said, you're gonna be offended. Somebody says something that you are not going to like. And I think society nowadays, and I can say this, I think society nowadays is too soft on both sides. I think a lot of people want to hear what made them feel good and not the truth. And that always saying goes, the truth hurts. But if you understand, if you gain the truth, you know, to move forward and to better yourself. So as I said earlier, it ain't gonna get better until we as men can express our opinions. Yes, some women are gonna be vexed. And I think when it comes to a point where we gotta set up, that's just how it is. The media might not like it, but we gotta keep pushing forward and say what we have to say. Because the way it's going currently, to me, is going downhill.
Because we living in the midst of a cultural shift, a huge cultural shift where the man is being pushed aside. And that started a little while ago, but the man being pushed aside is the head of the household. And as you said, pushed around and pushed to the back of the line. I know, I mean, there was a time where men used to, it was a one-income household. Now it's a two-income household. It's a necessity, I would say. Two, but also because women wanted to work. So even in that, the balance was upset. And that's not to say that women shouldn't work. That's not to say that it's some kind of archaic, you know, man, you know, some say man that think that women belong in the kitchen. But you know that is when women came out of the household and decided to work. So now the child got to go somewhere go on. But then now we are in the place where I feel like the next stage is that men
yes, it happening already.
As time go on, it seems like if men might end up being I guess we'll call it host husband. Not that there's something wrong with being that, for whoever out there cooking for a wife or a woman. I'm sorry, but that ain't ready for you. But as a general consensus, it just seems like the balance being upset, and everybody wants to tear down every tradition that we could follow. But they ain't got no replacement for that actually.
You brought a point that I've answered a while ago. I was someone with a friend of mine, and he was saying that how women are behind the society in comparison to men. And I said I slightly disagree. I think there's some things that benefit men and some that benefit women. I think it's even slightly benefiting women currently more than men. He said that's not true. So I asked him to give an example. He brought up CEOs and how the majority of CEOs are men. So I asked a question. Hold on. I asked him how many people, how many men are even CEOs to begin with? He didn't want to answer my question because that's a very small percentage of men to begin with anyhow. I always here would love to be a CEO. I would love to run NVIDIA tomorrow, but that ain't going to happen. And we accept that.
The only one man.
But exactly. But but then he kind of shifted onto like the money. So I have to ask this question: why is and it's kind of slightly off topic, but why nowadays is female success being attributed to money?
Yeah, but that's
You gotta elaborate further. What do you mean?
Okay, because back in the day, how you said that traditionally the man will work and he won't either stay at home or she would do a job that's less intensive. No, we said women are behind in society because they don't make as much money as men. So I had to ask, why is women's progress being judged on money?
Well, I would take that one, and I can say it this way. It can go back to my point about men being seen as success objects. A lot of these women want to be men, you know, but they want to be men without the consequences. Huh?
I still get mine.
We definitely a lot of women want a lot of women out there. If you sit down and you actually read what some of these things that some of these people these women on Twitter that's be playing up, they want to have sex with whoever they want to have sex with, and go all about the place and not be criticized about it. They want to have the top ranking jobs. Almost every time you hear something like that is, well, equality. And to me, equality is this. If you the same way how the got men that CEOs, the got men that's carry garbage too. So there's got equality in CEOs and there's got men that carry garbage. The got men put the telephone lines that just get shot and there's be putting all sorts of different things, the phone lines and that sort of thing that could fall off and get hurt. You see that there's you don't stay up on nothing on the power line because it can mess with their grip and then fall off. All of them things that's happened. Not only that, I didn't know that this can be controversial as well. But if you want equality, like you should be going through some of the same things that men is be going through on a daily basis. Ask for equality for that. No, you just want equality of the spoils. You don't want equality of the consequences. So that's why I think a lot of women, their success is being gauged on that. It's being gauged on how much they could be like a man, but it's what they see a man as. And the problem is, and this is to link it back to the freedom of expression, because I don't think it's that far off to link it back to the freedom of expression. Men do not get to define who they are, especially in this climate. Women define who men are. And I know that one of the ways, and I know one of them want to jump on this one as well. When women talk about this is what a real man does do. A real man does take care of his family and pay the bills and buy me a dress and buy me a car. And he was a real man that's met 6 figures. And all of those things that then is attached to a real man is all the attributes that they want to see in a man. But as a man, no, for the time he says, I want a real woman, oh gosh, the whole world there's comfort off. The whole world is comfort. So
I can tell you a quick version of what you think of this with this whole debacle. All you just explained it, just now about the expectations of men and women. The difference is, right, men have long known that we live at the behest of the feminine. Men have known that for quite some time. Men have known that almost everything we do in life is somewhat to I'm gonna find a partner and we're gonna raise a family. And frankly, as a teenager, everything you do has got to do with girls. You just go out to a man, you just make money, you just want to do better for yourself because you want to be ready, admit it or not, ready, conscious of it or not, because you want to be more attractive to the opposite sex. You want to seem like a competent human being that you want prime. So it's best for you to be prime so you could get prime. The difference being that men have acknowledged this for a long time, whereas women do not want to do that. No, in this time. Women don't like the idea of men being the prize. Well, men have always known that women is the prize. We've always known that. That ain't new. We know that women run circles around men all the time. But we have accepted that. But no, the problem now is that in this generation, though, women, the younger women especially, have been taught to try to reverse this whole shebang. Like, no, not for a man. I'm cooking for a man. I'm doing that so for a man.
But you still want all the perks That's my thing. You don't want to cook for a man. You don't want to clean for a man. I ain't saying that you have to. I ain't saying that that's a requirement. But at the end of the day, you ain't want to cook, you ain't want to clean, but you ain't want to work neither. You just want to exist in a man's life. It's kind of like a work or he poops. That's what you want to be to a man, as opposed to actually being contributing to his life. You ain't contributing. You just making man's life miserable. He can't go and play dominoes with the man because you think that he getting up with another woman. He can't go and shop you. He can't go on, but you shop because he gotta get home at a certain. All of that you bring into a man life. The man could as well be single and see if you want.
But he want you to know. But he want you to know that the men that used to get that sort of behavior, obviously would it be we fathers and thing if your father was in your life, but at least that was the woman who was doing her supposed duty or duties in that time. You see, as you said something right, Teague, that I want also add something to. Women want all of the perks, but the men want that none of these L's, as I may call it. The men want that the losses. Because being a man does come with a lot of losses, though. Because the first thing that we just learn, the first thing that we just learn as a young man becoming a man, we gotta learn how to take rejection, my brother. You hit the nail on the head. Because the society is basically set up that if you want a woman, you better go there and talk with somebody. You better initiate contact. You better put yourself out on a limb and hope that you don't break and you land on you shoulder and out by you other shoulder. That's how we set up.
Life to be.
That's how we set up. That's how we set up. Right. But no, as Teague is saying, they want all of the perks, but none of the hardships. They want that none of the losses, because the quickest thing a woman could do is say, oh, I went and talked with Zane, and Zane didn't pay me the money, and then all of a sudden, no, I done approaching men. But what Zane got to do with Teague?
Exactly.
What Teague got to do with the next person? But we as men learn that we can't just, we got to take that bright shoulder, dust it off, sling it up, and try again.
And that
we just learn.
And that may help explain the CEO's phenomenon, but that's a different argument.
But
right. But fundamentally, the things is be the same.
It's the
the
same.
Argument is the same.
But one word I want to get into.
Go ahead, my brother.
One word I want to get in there, and I think everybody touch on it lately in the points that they made, but nobody ain't say it outright. But it's entitlement. A lot of women believe, and that's one of the words that's one of the things that you said, Chad, is entitlement, and it's still to be ties into the whole point of speech, because men don't feel as if they are entitled to speak about themselves or define themselves, but women believe so. Women believe that they need to be able to say what a man should be. Women believe that they are entitled to a man, because watch how toxic women does get. Because it ain't just so. You think about it, Chad, is like
we can edit that part too.
what one thing that women does do, especially with men, a man decide. Do you ever realize that a woman can tell a man no for sex, right? But a man can't tell a woman no for sex, because if he tell the woman no, he gay.
Man talking my language,
he gay. He like bossy. He dealing with another man. All sorts of different things that has got to say, and that's because women believe that they're entitled. A lot of women want a man that's 6 foot something with a high salary because they believe that them entitled to a part of that.
And a 10-inch diggy.
Exactly, they're entitled to all of the things. They feel that they're entitled to it, and they think that we gonna start turning back the title on that.
I see people on Twitter saying things like, "I deserve such and such. I know what I deserve.
I know what I worth.
I know what I worth, and I know what I deserve." And in my brain, I be thinking to myself, "Do you know? Do you know what? Like, if there was a way for the universe to equally measure out exactly what type of person you would actually deserve based on the merit of your personality, what kind of man would you be with?"
But you need to stop making sense on this podcast. You gotta stop it.
They said the people that come for we, boy. We got
cause if you make sense like this, you gonna cause
Boys
problems.
want them happy.
Cause
Everybody
I
get
mean,
to everybody get
so
to their
please talk some foolishness. Please talk foolishness.
All right, I can jump in and talk something to jump into the mess of the podcast so we can stand on the ear, right?
Right.
But you know, it's one that's killed me too. And back to entitlement. What is covered? Women say that I don't want to settle. Can someone explain to me what on earth does that mean?
Brother, there got a lot of phrases out there right now that are incomplete sentences, and their English teachers, whether alive or dead, are rolling around. Because that same thing, that same phrase about I am enough, what are you enough of? I ask
Being a
women that
clown.
all the time. What are you enough of?
It's self affirmation, you know. So you convince yourself that you are golden regardless of your flaws, or regardless of you being 90% copper. Let me convince myself that I is gold and that I deserve the best of the best, which may very well goes back to
But this is the reason.
virtues again.
But this is the reason why. This is the reason why that Ford's garage does value cars, because if I devalue in cars, my 2003 Vitara will be worth $50,000.
Yeah.
Again,
You understand what I'm trying to say?
I can
So
tell.
they got certain people that need to understand that it's only obvious that you're going to be biased with how you are rating or valuing yourself. Yet
Yeah.
again, it's not about making yourself like think that you have to shoot too low, but you have to recognize that there are some things that are right for you and some things that are definitely above you. And that needs to stop being a problem. Because if I could look at you and tell you, you know that this thing that you're talking about, you don't really at the level for that, you know. All of a sudden, no, I am a hater, I is a bad-minded person for speaking a fact or showing the reason why that I say that within the argument. And that is the reason why that men cannot have freedom of speech, because we are more likely to be the ones speaking logically. Because men is usually say, I think. Women say, I feel. Because that's just another thing that's within our nature. We naturally are logical thinkers and assessors, and women are more along the line of emotional and within that realm. So, T, I also wanted to say something to
Yeah,
you
that's your
that
for
you need,
sure.
that you need, that you need
Mm-hmm.
to step away from. And again, I invite this to all of the men to step away from. You know that instance where you just feel the need to say, I am not saying that all women are like this. You see that? We got done away with that. Because the people who know that they do not fall in the category of whatever it is that you're saying are extremely unbothered by what you say.
It's a
Because
show.
the ones, I guarantee you, my brother, I guarantee you, I'm asking you, I'm telling you, because as I said, I love to communicate with women. I love to speak with objective-minded women. And I speak to plenty of them. And whenever I would say, you know, like if you're scrolling through something, and XYZ has said, what you do? I scroll past it, well, I got nothing to do with me,
Yeah,
Chad.
exactly.
I just be like, thank you. Let me share something with you guys that I think I shared with T. I think someone would remember, but the people, but the listening public didn't know this. There was a time I posted something on my Instagram story, and a woman that I do not know in terms of like we have a relationship or friendship or any sort of shit, she just came into my inbox and was like, "Oh, this joke is rapey." I was like, for stating XYZ, and I sent a roll emoticon. Then it was a subsequent back and forth, and I basically ended it because I was never an internet gangster. I saying that to say this. I am from the era where that people used to have to back up their mouths with their fists. We are from, not one of me. I am from the era where that you cannot allege shit to people and expect that you're gonna walk away with it. Whether it is that you think that you're right or you gotta prove that you're right and you're willing to stand behind what you're saying, because you can't just come and allege. And that's another thing in
That way
society
internet.
too. You know that if a man if a man is charged or alleged to be a rapist, he has to prove to the public that he is innocent, but is supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, but is actually guilty until proven innocent. And even when he is proven innocent, that stigma sticks to him. It does not go away. But if a woman says, "Oh, you know, this child that I got is yours," and it is proven that it is not, and you the paying child support for 6 years, she's not going to walk around labeled a fraud. She's not going to walk around labeled a liar. She's not going to walk around labeled a treacherous wench. You understand what I'm saying? So they got a lot of imbalances in society that we as men have to change the narrative on, because I do believe that we have some of the blame in certain mentalities that women carry, but we are the one, because we are the ones that enable or support it. So we have to pick up the ones that we know are, we know that men just do this and it does lead to this and this sort of mentality. So we need to change that narrative because it's we that enable it.
Yeah, but you hit on a couple things, and Chad. But one of the things that I want to highlight to segue, and there's a question that I want everybody to answer, and this is a segue into the last segment of the podcast. But well, I hit on it earlier to guidance. But what sort of advice will you give to a man who feels censored and wants to navigate this space? Because he got thoughts on his mind and he wants to say it. So what advice would you guys give? And I want everybody to get some input on it. I personally, one of the things that you hit on and I want to highlight as well, because I remember when people used to tell me, I remember when they used to be real critical about some of the things that I was seeing in church, and people used to tell me, "Man, don't say this and don't say that, but you don't say all Christians or don't say all this." But I play it this way: if I say all or something, the people that gonna be offended and uncomfortable is the people that doing the wrong thing more often than not. So when it comes to expressing and you saying all women, they're gonna got women that gonna look at that and say and gonna agree with you. Look, women just be doing foolishness. And they're
I
gonna got
just don't
women.
bother saying all women though. I just don't bother.
No, but I mean, as in, but what you're trying to say is that who offended? Chances are them is the people that toxic. And look at what the fella I don't know if you know the fella that's played cricket for the US, Aaron Jones, that he tweet was blowing up on Twitter. But he hold women accountable, and he said that women need to respect men. And look at what's going on there. What the women that was toxic, that was just talk foolishness that on Twitter 24/7, them is the ones that was offended. And if you scroll down through that tweet on that thread, you can see what can happen. They'll have women that agree, and they'll have men that agree. So to me, my thing is this, and I go back to Jordan Peterson and what Jordan Peterson said. You're gonna risk offending somebody. So in my eyes, express yourself unapologetically here. Don't care what.
That's a fact. If you ain't ready to stand up on some toes, you can't be one of the people that for the revolution.
Right? Sometimes be on Twitter and then I have to remind myself this can probably sound offensive. If you're offended, all right, so be it. But a lot of these people giving these opinions, especially in these situations, like you see fed up on Twitter. These people that their brains ain't finished developed yet, you know.
That may be controversial, but it's true.
Young girls that ain't got chick or child have no sense of responsibility. They ain't own name but a sweetie or a pack of chewing gum to the name. They still live at the mother. Okay, so I mean, what would I really know though? You know what I'm saying? But even in not having the experience, they are already soaked in the patriarchal ideology of the present day world. This then come up already knowing that men and shit and that women, that even having the earlier conversations about whether it's about CEOs and eco-pay, that eco-pay argument just dumbfound me everything, because I just never quite understand it. I'm sure it has happened in life, and I'm sure it happens somewhere or other. But in my brain, see, tell me how can you have the labor laws in a country? Like, and I mean like a westernized country like ours. So you said Barbados. How could it ever be a case that you as a banker, I as a banker, or you as a manager, I as a manager in the same company, in the same building, but I can pay a whole set more than you? And the only way that can happen is if like one person either negotiates for more money. But that's pretty much it. But if there's a case where they got six bank tellers and three is men, three is women, and three the men getting paid more and three the women getting paid less, how the hell is that not safety? Like, who gonna miss that? The company can't hide that. Like, that would be the most obvious um discrepancy in pay. Like, it'd be the most obvious thing. So I'd be confused if that was really happening. There would be tons of evidence of this thing everywhere. You can't miss it. Because it'd be obvious for you simply paying one body more than you paying the next. So it can't be that. It can't be as simple as that then. So it gotta be something else. And I find that there's a lot of the situations where, as you said, people negotiate for more. A lot of the jobs that men take are more dangerous and therefore more high paying when it comes to CEOs and that kind of stuff. The kind of people that run companies in your everyday man,
Nope.
even amongst men, they don't pay much.
No, even the
Only got
women who are
one
CEOs, even the women who are CEOs are pretty cutthroat because that woman that's run AMD, that woman that's run AMD cutthroat. So it ain't an easy thing. But one thing that would have came out of what you said is roles and the roles that people have to play. They got a lot of women that instead of being a surgeon, they just choose to be a pediatrician. Because that's the route that they decide to take. You know how many women who are doctors that want to be a pediatrician, but they're gonna earn less than men. So when you compare all the doctors, no, when you draw a comparison,
he and the girl was in the same class. She's a pediatrician. You as a surgeon, but look, come with the same class, the same school, working in the same hospital, but when they get paid different, so they take all the women that choose that, take all the men that choose to end up and compare the salaries and say, yeah, women working for a lot less.
Exactly. So and the reason why you pointed out roles is just to bring it back so that we can wrap up this podcast about roles and defining our roles as men, figuring out our roles as men, figuring out a path on the whole as men. I hope freedom of speech plays a role in that. So I just want to ask again, so we don't get sidetracked. Guys, like, what would you say? How should an individual? Because I know you went off on my own. I want to hear Chai, I want to hear Zen, I want to hear Darian, I want to hear you guys. How do you think? We may have different ways of expressing ourselves, but do you guys agree with me, or is there something that you guys will add in terms of how men should express themselves, especially in this world that we're trying to navigate? Because I want to leave this here on a good note with a piece of advice.
Well, I would, if you guys don't mind, I would say that you gotta do two things: speak, regardless.
True.
1, 2, be prepared. Be prepared for backlash. Be prepared for backlash. Period. Just be prepared for whatever may come. So if you can go on the hill, be prepared to die on that hill. Yeah. If you do that and enough people do that, then maybe we could change things. Maybe, but it requires sure. So somebody can go be sacrificial lamb, and that's how I see it. It shouldn't have to be that way, but I think it's damn well necessary at this point, and that's it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for me, how to express yourself, you gotta open your mouth.
True.
You gotta have the strength to understand. You gotta have the individuality to recognize that the things that you say may have facts, they may have common sense. Well, I like to say exclusive sense because it ain't common. And you have to recognize that there will be backlash, there will be consequences, there will be all of those things. But what you have to take from that is to understand that when you express, you give life to something, you give notice to something, you let somebody know that something is wrong. Because if you keep it on the inside, they can't know because we are not mind readers. However, take it as a learning experience. If it is that you're trying to express yourself with someone that you thought that you could and is not working, you need to find somebody else. Don't climb up. This is what men do. I find for men especially, we are not very open to being vulnerable. We're not very open to expressing ourselves other than through jokes or if we making sport at somebody. But we have to find spaces where that we feel comfortable, where we feel safe. Say what you need to say and recognize that you are not in it alone, because you might be getting in trouble with your child mother. But the fella that you know that there's always be smiling got trouble with each child mother too. I told when I could sit down and compare notes and try to navigate through that issue.
And help each
So
other.
open your mouth, express yourself, help one another, and whatever you go through, remember you're not the only person dealing with it. So don't climb up. Climbing up, this be the problem, and it's bring other problems, depression, suicide, all of that
Different
stuff.
conversation.
And that's right, and that's shit that men dealing with on a higher scale than our counterparts. So express yourself, man.
Yeah. So Darian, I want to hear your final thoughts, man. How do you think we should express ourselves as men? Do you agree with what was said so far? And what do you have to add, man?
Yeah, man, I agree with you, man. In life, as I always say, everybody can't like you. We try to please everybody, and they're getting pleasing no one. So to me, the best thing to do is open your mouth and see what you have to say. You might got a voice with it, got a lot of clowns on there, or you could do like me. There's something called the mute button. You just mute them away, so they can keep talking to themselves. And but one thing is, maybe got to do, I think we need to find a better social group. Because I think a lot of us, we hold a lot of things on the inside, we bottle it up, and it causes a lot of problems in the long run. So I think as men, we need to find better social groups that we can open ourselves and express ourselves, and we got to really help our fellow man. Because, we like making jokes and whatever, but there's some of us that are actually hurting the society. So we can't joke all the time. I love making my jokes and I start reckless, but we got to look for our fellow man sometimes and help our brother out. So I think that's what we got to do, man.
Yeah, man. So, and it's on that note that I want to highlight. It's a bit of housekeeping as well, but I want to highlight that we got a Facebook page, we got a Facebook group. So, guys, I'm gonna get that up and running soon, fully up and running. And if you want to have a conversation, guys, go and post on our page. That's a safe space. Say whatever you want to say, and we can interact with you guys. We got a Twitter as well. It's going to be in the description of this podcast. So, yeah. So with all that being said, what this podcast was for is to provide not just a platform for the fellas who are the hosts and the co-hosts of this podcast. The whole point is to provide a safe space for conversation, a community for men. And that's the most important part. And that's why freedom of expression is the most important part for helping men, for guiding men, for men to do better with themselves. So it's on that note, guys, that I'm gonna end this episode. It was nice discussing things with you. And of course, we're gonna be back again next week. We're gonna have video this time, and we're gonna have more hosts, more co-hosts on it to provide further opinion. So guys, until next week, this was Bearded Conversations. I hope you enjoyed it.